Hey everyone, welcome to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's February. It's the 1st of February. It's 2017. It's Wednesday. We have 12 basketball games to talk about tonight. So we're going to skip all the BS at the beginning of the pod and get right into this. Notorious, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I can't see your face right now, but I see a picture of you and your wife, and I'm just wondering, why did she pick you? Huh?
Right?
A lot better.
I say no nonsense, and you're like,
mine could probably do a lot better too, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it happens to the best of us. SBK, you were giggling. What's up, my friend?
Hanging in there, man. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, hopefully people don't listen to this podcast. According to Twitter, I suck at DFS, and we'll just move on from there. I'm not even gonna rant. I was gonna have a big rant.
Oh,
but,
hey, man,
I need to hear the rant.
You gave him too much in there.
You set me up for a rant.
No.
I need to hear it.
No, I went off on a guy, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Everybody listens to the podcast to get the fades. So congratulations to the people that faded Fareed today. Congratulations to you guys. All right, let's move on. We're going to start with Indy at Orlando, 2-11 total here. Indy favored by 2.5. We got to pay attention to Stuckey. He's still questionable. Seraphin is probable in this game. Notorious, you have away teams. What do you think about this Indy team?
Yeah, it's a pretty good spot for them overall. Magic aren't that great defensively. They've been involved in a number of shootouts lately, which is always good to see. Jeff Teague has the best matchup of the 5 starters. Magic ranked 28th against point guards. We know Elfrid Payton's not a great defender. So I do like Jeff Teague in tournaments. Probably not a cash game option in a 12-game slate, but definitely worth a look, averaging 44 in his last 3 games. CJ Miles pretty much let down the entire industry the other night. I think he had 4 fantasy points or something. So nobody's going to be on him if you want to look at him in tournaments. Pretty decent time to get him at low ownership. Paul George been on fire his last 4 games, scored at least 42 fantasy points in each. 9,500 on FanDuel is a little much for me, but I do like his price on DraftKings at 8,100. I think you can still play him over there. Thaddeus Young, don't mind him, but probably not a guy I'm going to have a ton of in such a big slate. And then Miles Turner, really like him. He's usually better at home, but we know the Magic struggle with the athletic centers at times, so I like him in tournaments as well.
All right, SBK, looking at the Orlando side, no injury news. Fournier's back. We almost know what's going to happen with this team. What stands out to you for my Magic here?
Yeah, the fact that Fournier's back now, that definitely kind of dampens the outlook for quite a few of these guys. It's not a bad matchup for Orlando by any means. They have a team total about 4 points higher than their season average. The Pacers are 11th in pace, 16th in defensive efficiency. They really don't defend any one position that well. So if you want to target the Magic in tournaments, you can do it. I think the best way to do that is with Nikola Vucevic. He pretty nice matchup here, 25th against centers. Pacers are 28th in rebounding rate, and they are 28th against centers in DVP over the last month. So Vucevic is definitely an option. They don't have much interest, though. Fournier's presence is not great news for Elfrid Payton, not great news for Aaron Gordon. Serge Ibaka's a little bit of intrigue there at 5,800 on FanDuel, but there's 12 games here, so you definitely don't have to force him in by any means. And really can't be comfortable targeting Fournier yet. He'll be back in the starting lineup before long, but at this point, you can feel comfortable avoiding the Magic. I think if you do want to look in that direction, though, Nikola Vucevic is the way to do it.
All right, moving on. Minnesota at Cleveland, 213 total in this game. Cleveland favored by 7. We'll start with the Minnesota side here, Derek. Anything standing out to you here for the Timberwolves?
Yeah, kind of an interesting spot for them. Cavaliers have been really bad defensively over the last couple of weeks. But the Wolves are pretty sizable underdogs in this one, 7-point spread in this one. So definitely not a spot where you have to target any of these guys. The best way to attack the Cavaliers is with their opposing backcourt, but Ricky Rubio and Zach LaVine really been inconsistent lately. I don't mind Rubio in tournaments, maybe on FanDuel at 6,900. Zach LaVine just a little too up and down. And then Andrew Wiggins, he's priced up and he gets a matchup against LeBron James. Probably won't be going there. Karl Anthony Towns, he's also priced up, and Cavaliers really tough on centers, so probably not going to be going there. Just not a ton to like on the Wolves side of the ball.
I don't mind Wiggins for tournaments. LeBron's been awful defensively over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. So Wiggins tournament play is priced a little up, but don't mind that. The Cleveland side, we know Kevin Love is out for this game. No Kevin Love and your Cleveland Cavs. What are we doing, SBK?
Yeah, like most cases with when Love is out or targeting LeBron and Kyrie, I think I may have more exposure to Kyrie when all said and done here. As far as the Cleveland options go, Minnesota struggles with point guards and centers. That's kind of the two weaknesses they have. They're 17th against point guards. Kyrie actually leads the Cavs in usage rate when Kevin Love is off the floor. Both Kyrie and LeBron struggled against the Mavs the other night. That was kind of a weird game. But anytime Love is out, you're gonna have a hard time not targeting those guys. I think LeBron would be the clear top play at small forward. If Steph Curry sits again, then I think I'd rather play Durant. It's close, but you see Curry active, then it'll be LeBron easily. Both are elite targets across the board. What I'm kind of looking at here is Channing Frye. He saw 19 minutes in the last game. But the Mavericks, they like to play small. That's really nothing new for them. So that kind of makes sense given the fact that they can't rebound, dead last in rebounding rate. And I would expect that when you think about the Timberwolves, Gorgie Jang, Karl-Anthony Towns, two very big forwards you got there. So I would assume the Cavs are going to have to stay big, which obviously bodes well for Frye. But yeah, I think Kyrie is probably going to be maybe somebody I have 50, 75% exposure to tomorrow night. So he's really the main guy I'm looking at there. And then definitely a ton of LeBron if we see Curry active too.
All right. Sounds good. Atlanta at Miami, 203 total in this game. Atlanta favored by 2. We'll start with the Atlanta side here. Sefolosha questionable. What do we have for Atlanta here against Miami?
Yeah, so as crazy as it sounds, these are two of the hottest teams in the NBA right now. We're expecting a close game in this one, but the over-under is only set at 203 points. So not exactly a great game environment. If Sefolosha ends up being out, Tim Hardaway and Kent Bazemore should both push for 30 minutes. I think both would make pretty decent plays. At shooting guard and small forward if he ends up being out. Dennis Schroeder, wildly inconsistent lately. He either scores 35 fantasy points or he busts. So not really a guy I'm looking at. He is only $6,300 on DraftKings, though, and we do know that Goran Dragic is not a great defender. So maybe a deep tournament play there. And then the bigs, kind of tough matchups down low. The Heat are tough against power forwards and centers. But if you want to go, Dwight Howard in a tournament, I don't mind it. He should see a few extra minutes trying to defend Hassan Whiteside.
All right. Don't mind any of that. Miami side, the only injury news that we have, SBK, is Babbitt is questionable. Tyler Johnson came back last game, so he's back in the mix here. What's your thoughts on this Heat team?
So when we target the Hawks, we usually like to do it with point guards. Works out pretty well with the Hawks, or for the Heat, excuse me. Dragic's price is climbing. He's now 8K on FanDuel, which is a little bit hard to stomach, especially given the fact that Tyler Johnson's back. Still only 7,400 on DK, though. And I do like the matchup a lot for him. So I think especially on DraftKings, I'll have some tournament exposure there. Dion Waiters, who would have thought we'd see him as the player of the week? He's been putting up some incredible numbers lately, but as a result, his price is climbing. Johnson's back, so it kind of takes away from Waiters a little bit in that sense. And I'm not paying the inflated price tag for him at this point. Atlanta's, it's not like he's in a great spot by any means. So I don't think you have to force him in. Side has been struggling mightily. I don't think he's worth a look on a full slate. You just mentioned Luke Babbitt. If he ends up sitting, it certainly doesn't hurt, James Johnson's case for a big minutes load. So I think you could look at him in tournaments. Power forward is typically not a place we'd like to target the Hawks. Paul Millsap's very good defensively, but anytime James Johnson 30+ minutes, he's definitely going to offer some GBP upside. So I think you focus on Dragic. You kind of got to hope that Tyler Johnson doesn't have that usage, and then look at James Johnson for tournaments.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Tyler Johnson's price is. Oh man, it makes me want to play him, but I can't trust the minutes until I see it back on the court. So I can't do it, but his price is definitely interesting for sure. Moving on, New Orleans at Detroit, 213 total here. Detroit favored by 6 in this game. New Orleans side, Cunningham left the game on Tuesday. He's questionable. I think it was a wrist injury in that game. Did not return. Looking at the Pelicans here, no Cunningham could mean that Terrence Jones starts. Any interest there, Derek?
Yeah, I don't mind Terrence Jones. Anytime he cracks the starting lineup, he's going to be an interesting play. And Davis did bump knees with his teammate on the last play of the game. So with his, injury past, you never know if he's going to sit. So if he ends up being out, Terrence Jones would obviously be, close to a must play. Tyreek Evans is also expected to sit in this one. And Drew Holiday has been on fire. Had another big game last night against the Raptors in overtime. Holiday's price is getting up there, $7,800 on FanDuel and $7,700 on DraftKings. But I still think he's in play. Pretty decent matchup against Reggie Jackson. The one position that the Pistons have struggled with is point guard. So Holiday is probably my favorite play here. I think you can look to Anthony Davis in tournaments. Definitely not on my cash game radar in a 12-game slate. And that's about it. I'm not too interested in any of these shooting guards. Buddy Hield had a pretty good game last night and is close to min salary, but probably not going to make my final cut in this slate.
Yeah, and Terrence, why can't I think of his name? Tyreek Evans was out for that game. It was rest purposes, so he should be back. So I'm not going to touch any of
this. It sounds like he's out this game too, I think.
Really?
Let me see what it says. Will not play Tuesday or Wednesday. So.
Oh, okay. I thought I just saw Tuesday. So good. Well, you don't like any of the guards, even with him out, like Etuan Moore or any of those guys?
Holiday for sure. I think Hield's fine. I just think in a 12-game slate, you're probably going to be able to find better values, especially as the day progresses. But yeah, I mean, all those guys are decent tournament plays.
All right, looking at the Detroit side, no injury news here. SBK, anybody that you're liking for Detroit?
Yes, Andre Drummond. He had coming off a huge game against the Celtics. I think we almost have to start just auto playing him when he plays Boston. He seems to dominate them pretty much every time. But he's in a really nice spot here. Pelicans have the second worst rebounding rate in the league. In 2 games against the Pelicans last year, Drummond averaged 20 and 18. Davis had played in both those games. So I'm going to be definitely going back to the well here. He's $8,700 on FanDuel, which is a very fair price tag. So he's going to be a center that I don't think, cash games with Drummond is always a little bit risky. Probably not an avenue I would take if I was playing cash games, but for tournaments, definitely going to have a lot of exposure. Outside of that, the rest of the guys aren't too interesting. Reggie Jackson, I do have some interest in. 6,500 on both major sites. Pelicans allowing the 4th most fantasy points per game to point guards. He's coming off of not one of his better games against the Celtics. It seemed like a matchup he should have been able to exploit. But you got to like him at those middling price tags. Definitely GPP only for me though. And then I could see pulling the trigger on KCP in a tournament, but I don't think I'll end up really doing it personally.
You're not down with the KCP. You know what happens if you're not down with KCP on this podcast. Go ahead and chalk up that losing night. Sorry.
If KCP beats me on a 12-game slate, so be it.
What's his? I'm trying to pull up his price on FanDuel real quick. DraftKings is price
56, I believe.
56, yeah.
I don't hate it. Don't hate it. I like the matchup.
Like he's always
definitely.
KCP Whisperer, gotta listen to him.
I like the matchup. Anytime we get Detroit in a pace-up game, that's when we want to attack KCP, and the matchup is definitely juicy. So I definitely endorse KCP before I get a billion tweets about it. I endorse it, and when he busts, sorry guys. New York at Brooklyn, 223 total in this game. New York favored by 2.5. It's a back-to-back. We have to pay attention to see what's going to happen with Porzingis and Rose. Derek, kind of talk about this game with those guys and without those guys.
Yeah, so it sounds like Rose is closer to doubtful than questionable, but we do have to see on that. And then Porzingis, don't really know about him. With Rose off the floor, Carmelo Anthony sees the biggest usage boost, around 7%. And I believe his fantasy points per minute goes up by 0.152. So Carmelo Anthony against the Nets without Rose, just an awesome play. And even if Porzingis is out, you can just bump him up even more. Even at 8,500 on FanDuel, I think he's an elite play there. And then on DraftKings 7,500, expecting to be one of the most popular plays in the slate. But I definitely like him in all formats. If Porzingis is out again, Willie Hernan-Gomez is going to draw another start, put up 37 last night against the Wizards. And he'd probably be one of the most popular plays too. We know the Nets are a pace-up team. They're ranked dead last in points allowed per game, 28th in rebounding differential. So you can really just load up on Knicks in this one. Brandon Jennings had a big game last night as well. 5,600 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DraftKings. Another guy that I'll probably have a lot of exposure to if Derrick Rose is out. Probably not going to look to Courtney Lee. He's been playing well. He did struggle a bit last night, but his price is up, and I like those other three guys that I mentioned a little bit more. You can maybe look at Joakim Noah, 3,600 on DraftKings. If Porzingis is out again, I think a lot of people were probably burned by him last night. So if you want to go back to him in tournaments, I like that.
Yeah, Kyle Quinn had a good game off the bench. I really could see rostering like 3 Knicks tonight if those guys are out again. And I think that's going to be pretty popular. Looking at the Brooklyn side of things here, Harris is projected to come back for this game. I don't know how much of a difference that's really going to make. SBK. It just kind of throws a fork into all this. They just have so many shooting guards and so many small forwards already. What are you looking here for the Nets?
Yeah, the backcourt is definitely crowded. No two ways about that. This should be a good spot for the Nets. It's kind of frustrating. It's obviously it's going to go to a very high total, 223. Expected to be close. The Knicks don't play good defense, 24th in defensive efficiency. But it's just kind of hard to feel good about any of the guys on this Nets side. The minutes are fairly inconsistent. Nobody really sees a regular allotment of minutes across 30, 32, anything like that. Except for Brook Lopez on occasion. He's really the one guy I have interest in here. Still 6,700 on DK, which is definitely too cheap. Knicks are 20th against centers, so it's certainly not a bad spot. I don't know that I'll pull the trigger on FanDuel at 7,400. I think I'd rather play Rudy Gobert for another $300 more. But on DK, I'm okay with it. Outside of that, we have Trevor Booker at 4,900 on FanDuel, which is interesting, but you can never really predict where his minutes are going to go. If you told me he was going to play more than 25 minutes, I'd be comfortable with it, but we don't know that's going to be the case. His minutes are constantly all over the place. The one wing here that I do have some interest in is Caris LeVert. He looks great. I really hope they start giving him more minutes soon. It would kind of make that team watch. He's played at least 26 minutes in the last 3. They've been saying that they're going to keep bringing him along. So you play him tonight. Maybe he gets into the low 30s, and I think where he's priced now, that's that kind of playing time will have a great shot to hit value. So there's a couple interesting ways to look here. You wish you had a clear picture of where the minutes are gonna lie, but the fact is that we don't, and most nights we're not going to with the Nets. So Lopez on DK. You think about Booker maybe on FanDuel and under 5K, and then if you have the Stones in tournaments, Caris LeVert, it's definitely worth a look.
All right, moving on. Toronto at Boston. No line in this game yet. Waiting on news about Avery Bradley would be my guess. DeRozan already out on the Toronto side for this game. I fired up Powell really heavily on Tuesday night, and Derek, I think we go back to the well with him here against Boston.
Yeah, you pretty much have to. In the last 4 games that DeRozan's missed, Powell has taken at least 15 shots in every game. He's only $4,200 on FanDuel. It's a really tough fade over there. I want to be overweight on the field on him on FanDuel. It's going to be tough to get there. I probably have to do 50-60% to be overweight on the field, but something I'm willing to do at that price point. He's more fadeable on DraftKings at 5,500, but that also means his price or his ownership's going to be lower. So definitely like him still on tournaments on DraftKings. Kyle Lowry, pretty much close to an auto play in cash games, only 8,700 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DraftKings. Coming off that big game last night, and we know the type of usage boost he gets with DeRozan off the floor. He also gets to face Isaiah Thomas, who's graded out as the worst defender in the NBA. If you look at the defensive real plus minus stats, and Lowry's averaging 45 fantasy points per game without DeRozan in the lineup this season. The other guy I'm looking at, Terrence Ross, didn't play very well last night. He's only 10% owned in tournaments. I think you can go back to him tonight at an even lower ownership. He's only 3,700. and we know he can get hot off the bench, should see a few extra minutes. And then Jonas Valanciunas, also always like targeting bigs against the Celtics, one of the worst rebounding teams in the NBA.
What about Pat? Any interest there?
I don't think I've played him this season, and I mean, I don't mind him. The minutes are always there. I just don't play him.
21, 23, 28 in those last 3 games going up against Boston. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
That's really it for the Toronto side. Looking at the Boston side of things, Isaiah Thomas has just been ridiculous. We have to wait on news here for Bradley. This team, it obviously matters if Bradley's going to play or not, because, you know, if Bradley's in this game, SBK, you know, Isaiah Thomas's usage goes down. Without Bradley, his usage goes way up. What are we doing here with the Celtics?
Yeah, so we got to kind of wait and see what happens with Bradley. Like you said, Thomas has been incredible. He's been a lot of fun to watch. The one thing about this whole outburst, though, is that his price has skyrocketed. He's now 10.6 on FanDuel, 9.5 on DK. That's a large price tag to pay. If Bradley plays, I definitely won't do it. He's still viable if Bradley sits. Obviously, the price tag is a little bit scary. The one thing to think about, you can save $1,300 on DraftKings by pivoting down to Kyrie Irving. You can save a little bit less by going to Kyle Lowry. You can save $2K on FanDuel and $1,900 for Lowry and $2K for Irving. So with that kind of savings, I think I'll end up, you know, with a lot more exposure to Lowry and Irving. Jay Crowder's been great recently, but I cannot stomach him at 6,600 on FanDuel or 6,100 on DK, especially if Bradley comes back. You know, even less reason to play him there. Al Horford's interesting at 6,800 on DK, but there's a lot of appealing centers in that price range, so I definitely don't see a reason to force him in. A Morning Grind podcast without Kelly Olynyk getting a mention. I don't think I'll play him personally, but he's averaging about 24 minutes in 2 games against Toronto, averaging about fantasy points per minute. This seems to be a matchup where he may be able to see a little bit of extra run. I honestly probably would not have brought him up had you not been the host of the show, Stevie. I'll say that.
Fair enough. Hey, everybody listens to the podcast just to find out who to fade anyway, so no big deal. Philadelphia at Dallas, 202 total. Dallas favored by 6 in this game. Yes, I'm salty today. Yes, that's happening.
Extra salty.
Embiid on the Philadelphia side, he's doubtful, probably closer to out for this game. No Embiid here, Derek. There's some options that we can look at for Philly, but they are facing a good Dallas defensive team.
Yeah, definitely a paced down game for Philly. Dallas, one of the slowest paced teams in the NBA, but they are ranked dead last in rebounding differential. So if Embiid's out, I like all 3 of the bigs, Ersan Ilyasova, Jahlil Okafor, and Nerlens Noel. Probably prefer the starting center of the 2. Hopefully it's Noel, because he's been awesome in that role over his last few starts, and he even played well off the bench the other night. He just didn't see the same, type of minutes that he did as a starter. So those 3 guys are all on my radar. Ilyasova is a guy that always goes underlooked and underowned in tournaments. He's only 5,800 on FanDuel and DraftKings. Not too interested in TJ McConnell going up against the GOAT, Yogi. Robert Covington, a little too expensive for me in a bad matchup against the Mavericks, who are ranked 2nd against small forwards. I think it's just a little too much to pay, but I do like these bigs quite a bit.
All right, looking at the Dallas side of things, we got to pay attention to the injury news here. Darren Williams questionable and Bogut questionable. These guys are out. Obviously, it frees up a lot. Yogi Ferrell's been a guy that's been excellent. What are we doing here with Dallas?
He's been on quite a run, coming off wins at San Antonio and against the Cavs, with Yogi Ferrell playing humongous minutes at point guard. Who would have thought? But yeah, if we see Duran out again, Ferrell's still pretty cheap. I think he's 4,900 on FanDuel and 4K on DraftKings. So I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with him on DraftKings. But with those kind of minute totals, it's kind of hard for him to miss value in cash games. Even if we do have Duran out, I think I may play the fade in FanDuel tournaments with Ferrell. But, I definitely like him in cash games. I especially like him on DraftKings too. We'll have to kind of wait and see what happens with Williams. Assuming Williams sits, we got to go back to Seth Curry. He's been great also over the last 2 games. He's a strong play on both sides. He'll probably end up drawing Nick Stauskas' defense, which is a plus. It seems like a lot of teams tend to try to isolate players against him. So I saw the Bulls do it with Dwayne Wade quite a bit over the weekend. Didn't work great, but I can see Dallas here. I don't mind Harrison Barnes at the power forward spot. He would end up more likely drawing Ersan Ilyasova than Robert Covington, which would be a step up. But I'm not really enthralled with Barnes on a 12-game slate, especially with Nowitzki playing. So I don't have a lot. It is a pace-up game for them. Philly's 9th in pace. They are an above-average defensive team that obviously changes when Embiid's up the floor. So this is a night where you can look to them. But I think Ferrell in cash games, Curry pretty much across the board, and maybe some Harrison Barnes in tournaments.
All right, moving on. Dallas really, I really, everything you said makes sense, but it really is just going to depend on Williams for me. That's where you're going to want to attack this game, depending on the Williams news. LA Clippers at Phoenix, 221 total here, which is one of the better totals on the entire slate. Clippers favored by 4, and no injury news here, Derek. So we'll start with the Clippers. Who you liking here for LA?
Are we only halfway through the slate? This thing is monstrous.
We only have 5 left. We got through 7 already.
All right.
Well, we're cruising. What are you talking about? We're cruising. It's not even 30 minutes into the pod yet. Like, we're just cruising. I haven't even ranted more than twice.
We still got like half-hour questions to deal with.
No chance.
All right. Anyway, great matchup for the Clippers as a whole. We love targeting guys against the Suns, one of the fastest-paced teams in the NBA, and one of the worst defensive teams, which is a great combination. The problem is there's not really anybody that you can trust on the Clippers right now. Austin Rivers has been playing well, but he's a little expensive. 5,800 on FanDuel, 6,100 on DraftKings. I probably prefer going the cheaper route with Raymond Felton off the bench. Blake Griffin, I'd love to target him if he was seeing more minutes. I think you can make the case for him on DraftKings at 7,500. He did play 29 minutes in his first game back, and then the last game he played 23 in the blowout. He'll likely see 28 to 30 in this one, but that's still kind of a high price to pay. DeAndre Jordan, he's also in play on DraftKings at 7,300. Tyson Chandler's a pretty good defender, though, so far from a must-play. So, yeah, I mean, they have an incredibly high team total. I just don't know how to attack the Clippers in this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting total. I guess the cheap guards, right? Like Austin Rivers is pricey, but like maybe you take a shot on the cheap guards in tournaments or something. I don't know either. Like, gonna have to look into it a little bit more. It is a matchup with Phoenix, so it's a good spot to attack him. It's just where the hell do you attack him? Yeah,
maybe JJ Redick on FanDuel at 4,700. Your boy,
my dude, man, JJ. But I guess like I don't hate him in this spot for sure. It's just he's been a guy that's been losing minutes to other guys, and I guess it was a Golden State game. So I don't mind JJ. Looking at the Phoenix side of things here, like I said, no injury news, SBK. What do you like here for Phoenix?
Not a whole lot. I definitely have a little bit of interest in Eric Bledsoe as far as tournaments go, but not somebody I'm making a point to pay for. He's pretty expensive. He's over 9. He's 9K on DraftKings and I believe 9,400 on FanDuel. So he's not cheap. He needs to do a lot to pay off that price tag. And the matchup with the Clippers. We already talked about guys like Lowry and Kyrie Irving a little bit cheaper with a very similar ceiling and floor. So I'm more than fine pivoting down to either of those guys. Devin Booker's, he's now up to 6,900 on FanDuel, 7K on DK. So I'm not going to be paying that price. And outside of that, I'm just not enthralled with any of these Suns players. So I think for the most part, this is pretty much a team you can avoid.
All right. Sticking to the moving on part, Memphis at Denver. No injury news on the Memphis side. We'll get to the Denver side in here in a second. Anybody stand out to you here for the Grizzlies?
Yeah, nice spot for the Grizzlies. We generally like to, factor in the pace of the home team a little bit more than the road team. So we can expect a few extra possessions for the Grizzlies. Pretty good spot overall. I expect them to have one of the highest projected point differentials in the slate. Mike Conley coming off that big game against the Suns the other night. Great matchup against the Nuggets, who ranked 29th against point guards this season. Definitely like Conley on DraftKings at 7,300. Marcus Gasol's averaging 47 fantasy points in his last 3 games, and as long as Jokic is out, he's going to see a matchup boost. He's still only 7,800 on DraftKings. Not really sure why they love to devalue the center position, but I definitely like Gasol in this spot. And then Zach Randolph, in the last 3 close games, he's played at least 31 minutes. So if we expect this game to stay close, I think he's kind of an interesting play, although the altitude in Denver could have an impact on old man Debo.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing, like, at least they didn't play on Tuesday, so they were able to fly in on Tuesday instead of flying in on a back-to-back into Denver. The Denver side here, this game's still going on against the Lakers. They're in the fourth quarter. We know that the Joker, whatever you want to call him, he's questionable. He was taking shots and stuff before the game. Maybe they were holding him out on the front end of the back-to-back. We'll have to really pay attention to that. Barton is questionable. And then I guess we can say Moutier is still questionable as well. Who do you like here for Denver?
Yeah, it's tough right now. We're waiting on injury news. I would assume that Jokic is going to sit again. I really do not know. If I had to guess right now, I would say Moutier probably sits. I really don't know exactly what to think about Barton. So it definitely makes the situation tough. And it also doesn't help that the Grizzlies are a great defensive team. They rarely pick on for DFS purposes. They're 4th in defensive efficiency, 28th in pace. So absolutely not a great spot for the Nuggets. Assuming that the injury information plays out tonight like it did last night, I think you can consider Jameer Nelson at 5,100 on FanDuel. That's still, that price tag with the minutes he's playing still keeps him in play. And Kenneth Reed, I think, is viable on DraftKings at 5,700 assuming Jokic does not play. I like that price tag on DK. I think on FanDuel he's probably a better fade. He's shade under $1,000 more expensive over there. It's just not a lot to like, which is pretty much always the case when you're, trying to target players against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I just got to pay attention to the injury news. So, that's what it comes down to. Because, even in a tough matchup for Reed under 6K without Jokic, I still think he would be in play for tournaments there. So we'll just have to really pay attention. Milwaukee at Utah, probably one of the crappiest games on the entire slate. 198.5 total. Utah favored by 8. Anybody that you like here for the Bucks?
Yeah, this game's going to save us some time. Yeah, I don't really play guys against the Jazz very often, and I'm not going to do it in a 12-game slate. Just really not a lot to like here, so I'm just going to fade it.
Yeah, just because we're not getting a discount on anybody, right? Giannis is still 10-1, Parker's 7-2, and then outside of those two guys, you really don't play, anybody maybe Deladova or somebody, but you're not playing any of those guys against this team. And looking at the Utah side of things, SBK Favors is questionable. Is there anything that you like here?
Yeah, it's the whole Favors situation is a little curious at this point. I don't even know exactly what's going on with him, but. Besides that, I don't have any interest in the backcourt. We have Rodney Hood, and they're healthy now. He's playing a normal minute, so I've been avoiding the backcourt. But Rudy Gobert is only Kings. Like Noah was saying, they absolutely devalue the center spots. A lot of nice options in that 6 to 7K range. Seems like on most full slates. The Bucks are allowing the 4th most blocks per game to centers. They don't rebound particularly well, so I definitely don't mind the spot for him. He's obviously got a pretty high ceiling. But with George Hill healthy, Hood back, and Hayward playing, it makes any of those guys individually kind of tough to feel good about. So pretty much I might have some Gobert exposure in tournaments, but I would not be surprised if when all was said and done at lineup lock, I didn't have any exposure to this side at all.
Yeah, I think this is a game that I'm going to pretty much avoid. Moving on, Chicago at Oklahoma City, 207 total in this game. Oklahoma City favored by 3.5. The Chicago side, Taj Gibson probable to return here tonight. Anything stand out to you for this team that's just a massive head case right now?
Yeah, they're basically combusting right now with all the drama behind the scenes with Wade and Butler and Rondo. Not a ton to like here. The spread is only at 3.5 points, so I mean you can't expect the game to stay close. But I think I'd like these guys more if it was a smaller slate. So maybe if you're playing the late slate or the turbo slate, you can maybe look at Dwayne Wade's been playing really well lately, and Jimmy Butler's always got that good upside. But other than that, I'm probably not going to have a lot of exposure to the Bulls. You can maybe look at Robin Lopez. He's coming off that big game. He's only 4,300 on DraftKings, but again, there's a lot of good plays at center on DraftKings. So it's tough to use one of those positions on Robin Lopez.
I think Rondo is a good tournament play. You know, I have him projected around 24 minutes. If he gets 24 minutes at 4,100, whether it be whoever he's facing against Oklahoma City, they don't guard the point guard position very well. I think he's an interesting tournament play, but is he really going to continue to do what he's been doing? But hey, if they're going to give him run and he gets 24 minutes at 4,100, there's upside there.
Yeah, he does have 31 fantasy points in back-to-back games. So if the minutes are going to be there, definitely interesting tournament play. I do worry, though. I mean, they've been using Wade as their point guard in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, definitely GPP only.
As they should. Looking at the Thunder side, we know Cantor's out. SBK. This looks like a really good spot for Steven Adams.
Yeah, it does, but his price is climbing. He's now 6K on FanDuel and 5,600 on DK, I believe, or 54 maybe. So, you know, like we've been kind of harping on this, it seems like all night, but the center spot on DraftKings is very deep. So I do not think I'm going to have a lot of exposure to Adams. The Bulls are actually second in rebounding rate. So I'm definitely not in love with him. I think he'll be a fade for me. You know, like most nights, the guy I'm probably going to have the most exposure to is Russell Westbrook. The Bulls' biggest weakness from a DVP perspective is the point guard spot. Obviously, you know, they're going to throw some extra attention. It's going to get, you know, Wet Rondo or Graham, one of those guys following that. It's absolutely not going to happen. But, you know, most teams are throwing extra defensive attention to him. So I definitely like the spot for Westbrook. I also don't mind Victor Oladipo. He's sitting at 5.5 on DK, which is a pretty intriguing price tag for him. Coming off of a pretty good game against the Spurs, and it seems like he's been kind of hovering around that 30, 33 fantasy point mark fairly recently in a consistent way. So I think, you know, you can feel okay with him in cash games. But yeah, outside of that, it's going to pretty much be Westbrook, some Oladipo, and that's about it for me on the OKC side.
Did you mention Sabonis?
He's been, you know, obviously his minutes have upticked. He's been, you know, between like 26 and 30, it seems like. It's probably
he
a
played
safe.
really well against the Spurs on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel the need to take the risk on him on a full slate. But his minutes have been increasing. If you want to pull the trigger for around minimum price, I'm not going to knock you for it, but it's not something I'm going to do personally.
Fair enough. Moving on to the last game of the night and the highest projected blowout of the night. The Hornets are visiting Golden State. It's a 223 total. Golden State favored by 14 in this game. On the Charlotte side, Zeller is doubtful for this game. Notorious, anything stand out to you here for the Hornets?
Kind of a tough spot for them, coming off of a blowout loss against the Blazers in Portland last night. They're now only 8-16 on the road, so definitely a spot that could turn into a blowout. I probably won't have any cash game exposure to any of these guys. You can look at Kemba Walker and Nicholas Batum in tournaments, but again, you know, I don't like targeting a bunch of guys on teams that are big underdogs unless I'm doing the game stack. So if you want to bring it back, I mean, if Curry ends up being out, SBK will get to those options over there. If you want to bring it back with the game stack, you can look at Walker and Batum and maybe Spencer Hawes off the bench, but just not a ton to love here. I do expect a pretty good game from the Warriors in this one.
All right, let's talk about Golden State. Curry's questionable in this game. Zaza is questionable out of nowhere as well. Anything that you like here for Golden State?
We're, you know, probably have to play the wait and see game with Curry. It's very possible we don't have news on him when lineups lock. I think he's a fine play either way. Obviously, you know, the blowout risk scares you a little bit. But anytime Curry's off the floor, Durant becomes an across-the-board option. He picks up about 6% in usage rate with Curry off the floor. That for some reason doesn't really add much fantasy production for him. His fantasy points per minute actually drops. Rises, but pretty much by nothing, 0.01. So he's still a very strong play. If he is active I'm going to be looking towards LeBron in that same price range. But, if Curry's out, it makes a lot of these guys more intriguing. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, even Andre Iguodala, they all pick up usage with Curry off the floor, which is no surprise. I'll be going back to the well with Draymond if we see Curry inactive again. I'm not, obviously the fact that we have Charlotte playing on a back-to-back, a road back-to-back nonetheless, the blowout risk is definitely there. Curry's absence would theoretically help keep this game closer. But if Curry's active, I probably will try to avoid the Golden State side for the most part. But if he's inactive, I will probably have quite a bit of exposure to that side, most of which will come in the form of Kevin Durant. But I'll also have plenty of Draymond Green, some Klay Thompson sprinkled in there. I'm never a Sean Livingston guy, even when Curry's out. So I think he's still a fade, even if he gets to start again. But yeah, a lot to like here if we don't see Curry. But if we do see Curry, I think it's a spot where you pretty much leave them alone.
All right. Curry practiced fully on Tuesday, so he's probably more on the probable side.
Yeah.
So obviously, we need to wait and see. That's going to do it here, though. We got our game to play still, and hopefully nobody listened to me about D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young yesterday, too. Anyway, that's the last salty comment. That's it. I'm done. Anyway, D'Angelo Russell, 7% owned, 49 fantasy points. Anyway, let's play the game. SBK, you went first last week. Notorious, you're going to go first this week. SBK, you're going to move to the 3 spot. Noto, lead us off here.
All right, so we got 6X, 7X, and a bust.
6X, 7X, 5X, under 5X for over 8K, and then a 3K punt play that's going to go 7X.
All right, so I'm going to go 7X Wesley Matthews at 4,700.
You said 6X?
7X.
7X. All right. Oh, let's see here. So many options. I'm going to go Brandon Jennings for 7X.
All right. One of these days, I remember to prepare for this game, like before it pops up on us.
Well, you were 10 minutes late again today, so who cares?
Dude, what do you mean? I was like right at 11. Don't be doing that to me. I'm thinking about Norman Powell here. I'll go with him for 7X.
Whoa, 7X on DraftKings? I'm locking this in. I'm not even letting you change it because you said it.
Okay.
And then you get to go again.
5,500, dude. That's a lot.
Not prepared.
That's what happens, man. He's still a good play, but 7X, it might be a little bit lofty. 6X. Give me Melo.
Yeah, that's what I was going to take.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to go with my 6X guy, and I'm going to go Rondo.
Not a bad one.
All right, Derek, you got your 6X. You got your over 8K, under 5X.
All right. I will go 6X Rudy Gobert at 6,800 against the Bucks. And then for my under 5X, I'll go Eric Bledsoe.
All right. My bust, I'm going to take Giannis.
That's a good one.
Dude, it's kind of strange. Karl Anthony Towns averaging 10 fewer fantasy points per game on the road. I'm going to go with him as my bust at 10-6.
All right, Derek, you get to pick the 3K guy first, and then me, and then SBK, your last. Just like the order.
Good.
Anybody
Good.
has theirs.
I have no idea who we're going to play.
I'll find one soon.
3,900?
What's that?
Can it be 3,900?
No, 3K only. 300.
3,900?
Nope.
Do you guys have your pick ready yet?
Nope.
I can
Scrolling through a
screw
lot of ugly looking names here.
I got screwed by going first.
Yeah, you did.
All right. We'll go Willie Cauley-Stein.
How much is
That's
he?
a pretty good one.
3K.
He's not 3K.
Oh wait, is that last?
Yeah, he's not even on the
That
slate.
was last night's slate.
That's how bad these options are, though. It is ugly, man. It is ugly
All right,
down here.
let's bump it up to 3,500 because
I was
there's
gonna-
nobody at 3K
There's
that I
nobody. Yeah, it's bad.
I was gonna say I don't remember us talking about the Kings. All right, I'll go. I'll go Sabonis then.
That's
Oh,
pretty
you
good.
took my pick. Oh, and I can't veto that either. That sucks.
Dwight Powell, he's there.
No chance. I don't even care that he had a good game the other night.
Yeah, he's the worst.
I'm gonna go Pat.
I knew you were gonna do that. God damn it! Can I veto that? But I can't take him, so no, I'll let you have him.
No, you can't veto the 3K guy.
Okay. What's up with Porzingis? Is he like not? Is he? Do we have any injury news on him? I didn't have the Knicks tonight, so I haven't looked at that yet.
No, he's still questionable. It's injury. It's illness, right?
Yeah, that's what it was last night at least. Obviously, I feel pretty good with O'Quinn. I got the Dallas. They got some guys banged up in the front court there. Can I go O'Quinn if Porzingis sits and then Dwight Powell if not? Can I do that?
No, that's not how this game works.
So I got basically. Give me Dwight Powell. I think he's gonna come through for me after that debacle. I think it was like a week ago where when Dirk was out, he's like didn't come in until like a minute left in the first half. So I think he's gonna get me back here.
Like Zubac tonight. Like he didn't play any of the first and third quarters and still ended up with 25 fantasy points. Like, come on, Walton. All right, before we get out of here, we have a question from Twitter, and this one comes from a very close friend of the podcast. Miss Noto wants to know, how does one deal with a grouchy woman? I'll give this one to you, Derek, first.
Yeah, my wife's never grouchy, so no, ow, she just smacked me too. She came down. She knew this question was coming. Yeah, I give her a glass of wine and
No, you don't. You
Ah.
don't.
Hi, Heather.
yeah,
I went to the liquor store.
SPK says hi.
Hi.
She says hi.
You don't get my wine.
Oh, I want to end it on that, but I have to bring up something real quick. Her cover photo on Twitter right now is tits bouncing back in warm.
Yeah,
Oh man, your wife.
yeah,
is-
she's my wife. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the balls. And real quick before we get out of here, Derek and I have to know, SBK, how's Target treating you?
Oh, well, I told you guys a little bit about this on the I guess the pre-show.
I was so tilted pre-show I didn't listen to a word you said.
You didn't hear the Kroger story about the deli?
No.
What?
I was so yeah. Twitter got
Yeah.
me. I don't ever get tilted from Twitter, and I was tilted today.
Yeah, and as a Target, Star's still good. They haven't like made bigger baskets yet, so I haven't been able to get the crock pot because I can't fit that in with the rest of the groceries. So I don't think that's gonna be coming home with me anytime soon. But I went to Kroger now. Obviously Target, great place. Feel free to do your food shopping there. You can do it without a cart. Quite a luxury. But if you're into that, if you're into carts, you like big supermarkets, Kroger, they got a lot of good stuff, man. I walked around there for a little while. After the deli, I just kind of wanted to see. I hadn't been in a real grocery store for quite a while, but they got a lot of stuff there, man.
Geez.
But yeah, I went to the deli. So last week I go to Kroger. I think it was like a Tuesday night, and I'm just standing at the deli, standing there like 5 minutes. Nothing. Nobody walks over. The lights are all on. It looks like it's open. So I'm just like hanging out there, just like kind of waiting for somebody to pop out. I'm like, what do you want? Didn't happen. So I walk over to the help desk and I'm like, what's going on over there? Nobody's slicing meat. Can you go find somebody? She like walks back there, doesn't see anyone. And then she just proceeds to tell me, about 2-3 hours ago, all the people in the deli quit. So there's nobody here. This is like at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and the deli's supposed to be up until 9. I'm like, well, which one of you guys knows how to slice meat? Grab a knife or get on back there. Like I need a half pound of turkey there, and nobody knew how to use a slicer. So I got stuck buying Oscar Mayer meat, which was not very good. I would not recommend that to anybody. If you're looking for good lunch meat, steer clear of Oscar Mayer. I'm a Boar's Head guy now. Oh my man, I got Boar's Head the other night. The deli was open. They didn't apparently people didn't quit last night. That was good. Everybody was still there. So yeah, I got my turkey.
Does Target not have a deli?
Toaster. No, man. I mean, they sell the prepackaged deli meat stuff like that, but that's terrible. It goes bad 2 days.
That sounds awful.
Oh, dude, it's really bad. I feel like I'm eating Lunchables almost.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like lunch.
Oh man, that sounds.
Exactly what it feels like.
Well, at least
The Target's still good though.
At least we know you're getting some lunch meat in you, which is always a good thing to hear. And Publix has Boar's Head too, as well. Just so you know.
Dude, there's a Publix maybe within 5 miles of me. I don't know. I haven't been in there, so I don't know where anything is in the aisle. So I'm just not.
Have you ever had a Publix
sub? In there. No, I've heard they're
God.
food they have there.
You're killing me, dude. You can order. You can put it in on the website, and when you leave work, just go and pick it up, and it's ready for you. And then you can just go home and eat this gigantic, just great food in your mouth sub. I had one for lunch today. For what it's worth. So.
Yeah, they just need to have Wawa worldwide, and then all the problems will be solved with sandwiches. They just don't have any sandwich places down here that are good. They had one in here in Nashville called Substop. Rest in peace. That was the best sandwich I ever had, and then they're now building a 26-story apartment building as we speak on top of that.
You know what's good in Nashville? Hattie B's. You should try it.
Oh my God!
I still haven't had it, man. Soon.
I'd go at least once a week if I lived there.
Me too, Derek. Every time I go to Nashville, I get it the day that I arrive and the day before I leave. You can't get it on the same day because that would be awful on the airplane. But yeah. Oh man! All right, well that's gonna do it here for the Wednesday edition. SBK, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man, it's gonna be a fun slate. Definitely gonna be a fun night to play tournaments. I wish we could see some pretty sizable GPPs across the industry. So 12 games. We'll obviously have a lot of injury news. Keep an eye on the app. We'll be keeping you up to date with all things NBA injury news. So 12 games. It was quite a lot to go through.
All right, Derek, any final thoughts?
No, I'm pumped. I'm off to Arizona tomorrow, going to the golf tournament out there. Gonna get wild with all the people on that par 3 if you guys haven't seen it. Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
All right, sounds like fun, my friend. We'll have fun, and you guys enjoy your 6 days off of the podcast. We'll see you guys again next Wednesday. That's gonna do it here for the Wednesday edition. We'll be back tomorrow talking basketball, and hopefully I will be in a better mood. Good luck in your contest tonight, and we'll see you then.